Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Dungeon Dwellers Podcast. That's not right. Whatever. I don't give a care. I don't give a care. Okay. Today I'm reviewing the 2002 Mecha anime series, Overman King Gainer, which is directed by Yoshiyuki Tomino, the godfather of the Gundam series, and this show is animated by Sunrise. Of course it was. Right. So I watched the English dub for this show, and boy, did a lot of my favorite voice actors use alternate names. Right. But the one guy who I thought was using alternate name, turns out I was wrong. Which the main character of the show's name is Gainer. Right? The entire time I watched this 26 episode show, I thought, oh yeah, that's Johnny Young Bosch from Power Rangers. And despite the fact that it sounds just like Johnny Young Bosch, it actually is not Johnny Young Bosch. Some guy named Daryl Gulbo, who's actually acted in movies and TV shows, right? Alright, so yeah, the cast of the show, you have Sarah as Olivia O'Connor, Gain as Ron Allen, aka Kirk Forden. I don't know why you use a different name. You have Bello as Dave Mallow, even though Bello was actually voiced by Shino's character. Shino's voice actor from Naruto. But for some reason, they had to change. They changed voice actors because they rather have that voice actor as Asuhan's henchman, which Asuhan is voiced by Duggar Holtz. You have Tony Oliver as Hughes the Ninja, Michelle Ruff as Princess Anna, Wendy Lee as Adet, which I totally thought that Michelle Ruff voiced both characters, but turns out it was Wendy Lee voiced the other one, which they sound alike, right? And like a lot of your favorite like voice actors from Naruto are in this show, except for Johnny Young Bosch. Yeah, so this show is typical Tomino. You have our characters on a journey, and they're being pursued by enemy forces, and our characters have to fight them off until they get to their destination. Just like in the original Gundam series, just like in Zubang Blue, what was it called? Blue Cobalt Zubungle. Space Runaway, Ideon, the list goes on, right? Tomino loves his like mecha anime series to be our characters are going somewhere and they're being chased by enemy forces, right? But the actual plot of the show is the show takes place thousands and thousands of years into the future, where humanity collectively decided to leave the environment so it can recover, so the animal population can recover and live in domes, right? Where the domes are supplied by railways across the planet that are run by the railway patrol, right? And there's also like you have aristocracy is back, okay, apparently, for some reason. Right, so our main character is Gainer, who is the game king, who's really good at playing multiplayer game where you're basically piloting a giant robot. There's two kinds of giant robots in this show. You have the Overmen, that are wacky giant robots that have like a special superpower called overskill, right? And there are different overskills in the show, right? Including ones where the first overskill you actually see is when a character uses his mech to stop time, where like not only does this show have like wacky mecha designs and wacky like clothes and hair, but like they even have like the mechs have like superpowers too. Holy shit, man. this show is basically a mecha anime version of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. The mechs are basically stands. But the most common mechs in the show are silhouette machines, which is a lot of our supporting characters pilot, right? Which are basically just walking tanks, right? Which they're even called, like, the main ones that our characters use are the Panzers, which are basically walking tanks. So the main plot of the show is our character King Gainer lives in a dome in Siberia, right? And he gets basically arrested by the railway patrol, right? Sorry, I got paused. Yeah, my dog was working. So yeah, so what happens is Gain on the night of the Exodus, right? Which the Exodus is a movement where people in en masse leave domes, right, which is illegal, and go on journeys to establish basically colonies outside of the domes, right? So they can start farming and basically reestablish, civilization, right, outside of the domes, right? And our main character Gainer, who's an orphan whose parents were killed by the Exodus movement, which they never explain why, right? Gets arrested for being tied to the Exodus movement. Only for when he's there, he meets the Exodus specialist Gain Bijo, who's also known as Black Silver Cross, who's a sniper, right? Who pilots a silhouette machine that has a big sniper rifle, and its left arm is an Overman arm, which the Overman arms are have synthetic muscle and muscle, right? They're basically like Ava's, but if Ava's were actually what they were advertised as, and not actually clones of angels. Spoiler alert for A-Fun Killing. Right. But yeah, he meets the Exodus specialist Gain Bijo, right, and escapes from prison, right, and they steal an Overman from the Lord of the Dome, who has a museum where he likes to collect old mechs, and that's where our main characters find the Overman that our main character pilots that he calls King Gainer, right? Who can fly thanks to the photon map, right? Which the white locks that on our mech's head can generate, and it has a special a broadsword gun revolver, right? Which it's basically a broadsword that has like a revolver chamber that he loads one at a time, right? And it's called a chain gun because it basically has like this laser chain that spins around the broadsword, right? Which is actually pretty cool. Holy crap! People keep interrupting my review for this awesome show. So where was I? Yeah, basically our characters are on a legal exodus through Siberia, trying to get to Japan, which may or may not be Japan, right? Which makes me wonder how the hell were they planning on crossing the ocean when they have these big city units being towed, right? Which our main character Gainer has no choice but to join the Exodus, because his home, like one of the city units that's being towed along on the Exodus is his home, and there's also the thing where all of his fellow high school students, right, are all fighting in the Exodus Vigilante Squad, which is called the Galley Squad, named after Tony Oliver's character, who turns out to be a ninja, right? Right. So yeah, I like this show. The show, as far as at first, I was a little worried when I saw the character designs, which look great, honestly, and the mech designs, because I was getting a lot of Gundam Reconquista in G, which that show fucking sucked, right? Which that's the thing where it's like Tomino for that show totally forgot. If you're gonna show a character betraying their country, you have to give like actual reasons. Show basically the country or organization or whatever being the bad guys first before you actually have our character betray them, because it just makes our character look like a fucking dumbass, especially since in that show his mom was like a general or something in the army or whatever. And here they actually do show the railway patrol being villainous by just randomly arresting people, right? And then there's the fact that you have like the person who arrests him, Adette Kistler, is wearing a really fucking sexy like dominatrix outfit, and when her superior officer, right, who's the first major villain of the show, sees her, she went out in public like that. He's like, "What the hell are you thinking? You went out in public in that, you fucking idiot!" Right? The show is just epic, man. Like, and I kind of like the fact that you had like there are lots of not just mech on mech action in the show, but there's also action outside of the mechs where our characters get to be badasses, like Black Sovereign Cross, which was voiced by Kirk Forden, who's fucking awesome in the show as the second main mech pilot, who's badass despite the fact that he doesn't even have an Overman. He's using like a shitty silhouette machine that just has has a sniper rifle and like an Overman left arm, right? Which he does get Overman at near the end of the show called the Emperanza, right? So yeah, let's just go in my likes and dislikes for the show. The show is great characters. It's a very fun show, right, with lots of humor, right? It was basically everything that was good about like Double Zeta Gundam without any of the weird creepy shit. If you ever watched that fucking show, right? Which, because people bitched and complained that the show was too comedic, it went super dark near the second half of that show. Right here, the show is consistent with its tone. Right, the opening song is great. Right, where you see all the characters dance, including the mechs. Right. And the show is very unique because even though like I said, it does kind of rip off JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, but it's JoJo Bizarre Adventure with mechs, man. That's how fucking amazing it is that. And it's the thing where our characters actually have to use strategy to actually fight. It's not just like like a lot of Tomino shows where it's like, oh, like the main character is just a badass pilot, so he just beats eventually beats everybody. Here they have to actually use strategy, which I forgot to mention. Our main mech's overskill, which it just seems to be a burst of speed, right? Right. Which the other overskills in the show are like you have one mech that can turn invisible, one mech that can create illusions. There was a mech that could steal stuff, right? And there's a mech, the last mech of the show that's called the fucking Overdevil can fucking freeze everything, right? Now let's go into the dislikes of the show. There were points in the show where it looks like something was going on with the fucking budget. There were points in the show where it felt like Tomino was writing the show as it was going along, because at some points they would say shit and then they would contradict what they said later, right? The show honestly was a bit too short. They should have fleshed out the world a bit. And the show, so I like the fact that the show ends on like a fifth episode arc, right? 4 episode like arc. The show they never got to their destination, which makes me wonder how the fuck were they going? How the fuck were they going to tow the city units over the ocean? Did they have boats waiting for them? Like what? That makes no fucking sense. But but other than that, the show is great. Like it's a fun mecha anime show with cool characters. At first I wasn't a huge fan of the designs, except for the Golem, which is piloted by the Saint Reagan Assassins, which is such a fucking badass name for elite unit, right? Who's the main bad guy is Asuan for like most of the show, who's after Game Bijou because Game Bijou used to be his friend who knocked up his fucking sister. Which you actually see this sister at the end of the show and she doesn't give a shit. Right, which you don't even see the Gaines kid. Was that all made up too? Like, oh my god. Did Tomino forget? I don't fucking know. But yeah, the show has its problems, but it's a solid 7 out of 10. And it's a short, comfy series. If you're looking for a mecha anime show to watch during the winter, this is the perfect show because the show takes place in mostly like, you know, it takes place in Siberia, where it's, you know, always cold. Right, yeah. So I love the show, 7 out of 10. So our next show we're going to review is going to be a 90s cartoon. I'm going to have a poll. It's going to be either Beast Wars, Superman the Animated Series, or the Iron Man Animated Series, right? Which, for the Superman Animated Series, it would just be like the first like season, right? I'm not going to review like the whole show, because that show I think went for like 5 seasons, right? And we're only going to review the first season, Beast Wars. The Iron Man show got canceled after 2 seasons, so that shows like what 20 something episodes, so we're fine. Then after that, we're gonna review another tokusatsu series, and then we're gonna do another anime series where it's gonna be probably mecha anime, depending on what I'm in the mood for. All right, guys.